What's your understanding of the charge, and tell us a little about how that's going?
Yeah, well, that arose in large part, if not entirely, as a result of a whole lot of controversy that came up. And I really would say it was at its height and its most heated at the beginning of this year, back at the early part of the legislative session, where there was some changes in regents in the University of Texas system, although this also applies to other schools, but that was really one of the pivot points that created a lot of the controversy, and what many perceived and believed was a push to change the way our Tier 1 research universities operate in such a way that it would do damage to the concept of how those research universities act and the role of research to some degree. There was a lot of fight during the legislative session and a lot of discussion. I also serve on the Higher Education Committee, and I was quite involved in those discussions and the debate that went on. Subsequent to that, the Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker of the House, and again, I think in large part, if not entirely as a result of the controversy, created this Oversight Committee. It's a joint committee of the Senate and the House. It is chaired by two co-chairs. The chair of the Higher Education Committee in the Senate, which is Senator Judith Zaffarani of Laredo, and State Representative Dan Branch from Dallas, who chairs the House Committee on Higher Education. And so it's a joint committee. I'm really pleased and honored to get to be on there, particularly because of the fact that I represent the University of Texas at Austin in my Senate district. The purpose is to look at governance. It's to ask the hard questions about how we go about appointing regents and the role that regents ought to play in the day-to-day operations and management of our schools. It's about transparency and how it is that we make sure that what's going on in these schools is open and transparent, and by that, for that matter, what happens at the governing body level of the systems is open and transparent. As you might guess, there's a variety of other things that get brought up. But I think it's going quite well. We've had now 2 meetings. In those 2 meetings, the first meeting we heard from a number of experts from around the state, around the country, experts in the concept of governance and how you operate in university settings. This last time, which was just a couple of weeks ago now, we heard from a variety of chairs of different boards of regents. While we're at the University of Texas at Austin and we think of UT and UT system, we have a number of systems in the state, and their chairs of their boards, and in some instances their chancellors have had an opportunity to speak. At that board meeting, by the way, the chair of the Board of Regents of the A&M system and the chair of the Board of Regents of the UT system both testified and were asked questions by the panel. This next time, the chancellors, Chancellor Cigarroa from the University of Texas system and Chancellor Sharp from the A&M system will be part of the invited testimony. So it's been, I think we're making real progress, and we're learning a lot about the system and learning a lot about what we might do to make sure that governance is appropriate and that there's the kind of transparency that we want to see.
Not to be overly blunt, but do you think that this has tamped down the underlying politics that were coloring this for a while?
Well, I don't know if that's overly blunt. I mean, I think that's a legitimate question, and I don't know that tamp down is the right way I would say it. I would say that what it's done is it's brought it all out in the open. I'm not sure tamp down seems like people are just kind of waiting to see if this all goes away, and it's not going to go away. What happened was, I think the controversy that was created has created its own transparency, and so now decisions are being made where people are watching, and if there is fear that it's just being tamped down and it'll rear its head when nobody's looking, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think people are going to pay more attention. So I would argue that it's one of the benefits has already occurred, and that is there's more attention being paid to how the university systems operate, and I think that will work to the benefit over the long haul, regardless of what recommendations come out of this, specific recommendations come out of this committee.
It seems to me that a more open conversation about all of this would help not only the immediate matters, but also doing more with connecting higher education to other areas like the medical initiative.
I don't think there's any question that's true. And while the controversy was heated, it was significant, and it should never be diminished. I think the fact that it occurred, of course, I tend to always find the glass half full most of the time. I think one of the things that even though it was nasty and negative and created some problems, I think it actually, one of the positive outcomes of that is there's just going to be more attention paid.
Did you see Speaker Strauss's comments yesterday?
I did.
Have any response to that? I think some people were surprised. Other people were happy to see him make a statement about it.
Well, I guess it'd be hard to say I was surprised since he was involved in the creation of this oversight committee.